One of the most common problems that I think everyone has struggled with at least some point in their life are the moments when you have to ask yourself, where is God? And that can be a reasonable question. The question can come up at a number of different times, though. It can come up in moments of spiritual dryness, which is when someone is trying to grow in their faith and they're trying to pray more, but it feels like they're not getting any answers. It feels like God's not listening. It can come up when you're trying to understand something that's happening in your life. You're just confused as to why a thing needs to go a certain way. It's not necessarily bad, but it's just confusing. You just say, where is God? Why is he doing this? But I think the most common time is when something bad happens. And the question comes to mind, almost not even asking where is God, but almost accusing God of not being there or not being real. And it's true that all these moments, it can feel like God is very distant from us. But it's always important to remember then that even though it feels like God is distant, he is always right next to us, walking with us. We might just be the ones that need to turn around and look. And we see in the first reading how God was present to his people Israel initially through the law. Throughout all their struggles and all their difficulties, it was through his law that he was made known to them. And it's not just some mysterious law that was written down on stone tablets and given at the mountain. It's a deeply personal law that he placed on their hearts. He has with his people this law on the inmost part of their being. And then the invisible God, who had previously made himself known only through his law and his prophets, actually assumed to himself a human nature and became man. And as Paul explains in the second reading, Jesus is the image of the invisible God. He gave us a way, not for just us, to physically come in contact with him, to see him, to touch him, and adore him, but also a way for him to physically touch, heal, and care for us. He reveals the Father's love to us. And we are baptized into the body of Christ. We become members of a body with Christ as our divine head, and we are created in the image and likeness of God. And so we're called then to see Christ in all the people that we meet, which is beautifully demonstrated today in the classic parable of the Good Samaritan, which is not the easiest thing to do. In fact, there's going to be times where it's extremely difficult to see Christ in others, especially when it's somebody we don't like, somebody we don't agree with, or maybe simply they could just be acting in an evil way. The parable of the Good Samaritan shows there really is no excuse, unfortunately. The Jews and the Samaritans were literal enemies, hated each other. But Jesus makes it clear from the parable the way that we need to treat others, even if they are our enemies, as if everyone we meet is Jesus, because he has the same amount of love for that person that we don't get along with that he has for us, for me or you. Everyone is made in the image and likeness of God and therefore deserves the same respect. So we work to grow in our ability to recognize Christ in those that we meet. We rejoice in the times that we are kind to others and things work out well and the person's nice back to us. That's great. But we should rejoice even more if we are kind to somebody else and they treat us poorly in return. God knows if we're doing our best, and if as long as we try our best, we did what was required of us. And when we are insulted in return, we are overjoyed the fact that now we are worthy to be treated just like Christ was in his life. He did nothing but give to his people, and in return, they crucified him. They insulted him. They accused him of working for the devil, for all these other things. I think we can endure a little bit of insults to unite ourselves further to Christ. And so as we come to this altar to receive the Eucharist, Jesus Christ made present here, we call to mind our calling to treat everyone like Christ, and that is how we will be sanctified more and more every day.